different. I don't think it would, but I can see why people would just, nah. You just go through the motions. You stop thinking about it. You just stop. Although yeah, right. The unplugging, right? That's the exercise. It's like, do it so much that you don't have to think about it anymore. This is a weird world. Is Folgers in your cup? It doesn't really have to be. It's just wherever you want to be. Just, like if you're gonna come up, then just pull it up, and if you're gonna sit back, then you just swing it.
So I'm ignoring this light that's blinding me from the right side. I have to make sure this thing's in front of my face, and I make sure my headphones don't go too long. And I'm supposed to have a normal conversation. Got it. No problem.
Okay.
It's gonna go well.
The fact that this, first of all, blinding you is crazy.
If I close my eyes, I can see it. It's fine. I'll adapt. It's just going to take us.
There are lights. You walk around, and there are lights all the time when you go places. They're all everywhere. You know what I mean?
Specific about this one.
It's just that, none of this it's not natural.
No,
we
it's
should.
not.
Okay, how about this? Can we start by cutting one of these?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, don't. Oh no. This is easy.
Okay.
This is a really easy fix. We got 2 spoons because I don't know how to eat this. Thank you for the kumquats.
Can you push that down and can I have some?
Oh yeah. We got some coffee going.
Okay, we're gonna get the wrinkliest one.
Now, how unproductive? When was the last time you didn't drink coffee? Like last time you
last week?
Like you decided to maybe take. What's the longest you've taken off of coffee?
Made a decision not to drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Or does that even happen?
I've tried it before, and I just wasn't drinking coffee. It didn't.
You didn't feel like you were unproductive?
It wasn't some remarkable change. So then.
How do you feel like our conversations would go without coffee in the morning? Because I feel like there's something about the coffee that really supercharges these conversations. You don't feel like that? That's just me? Wait, do you even sense a difference when you drink coffee? Like, is there anything that you feel like is happening?
Yeah.
Or do you just like...
It's also part of the process of waking up.
Okay. It's just a part of the process of...
No, not that it's a part of the process, but the different feeling is part of the process of waking up.
Oh.
So to separate the two...
It seems like not drinking coffee would be weird because it seems like you're not getting that.
No. Because part of the process of waking up for me
is Folgers in your cup.
You know what? Yeah, the coffee really brings a lot to the conversation. Is that what you wanted to hear?
There you go. All right, so let's see what we got going on here.
Answer?
So,
okay, not that one.
I've tried quite a few amount of things since I've been here.
Like what?
Kumquats. I definitely had it before, but it was almost like kumquats were like rock climbing. Like I did it. But I don't remember what it was like to do it. Like I doubt that I ate the kumquat mindfully. I doubt that I was climbing the walls mindfully when I last. Actually, I could tell you because I knew exactly when it was and what I was.
You were looking like the.
I took the shirt off. It was yes. Had to.
Baffles me because I look at the guys that take their shirt off and think, all of the women in this gym managed to keep their shirts on. So it's not purely out of comfort. You can't pretend it's just...
Wait a minute. Are you allowed to take your shirt off? Like, you're...
Well, like, I mean, I could have a sports bra on underneath, but still, no one does that. Everyone takes their shirt over top.
First of all, okay, I don't even mean to act like I'm refuting what you're saying, because at first I don't want to... I'm just saying, well, you wouldn't be doing that, but yes. But I think that if you're exercising, you're hot. So, it's...
Right, but women don't even feel the need to take their top off to show their sports bra. Like, they can wear a sports bra and a shirt.
They could.
Then they do.
And you think that there's nothing... And so what do you think that is? Let me just ask you that. Why do you think that the women keep their shirts on and then the guys don't? Because one, I think that guys have less shamelessness. Like, whatever is going on underneath that shirt, whatever it is, however it's sculpted or put together, I think that men feel much better about taking the shirt off and letting you know whatever the fuck is going on down there than women do. I think that women are a little bit more self-conscious about their bodies. That's one. Now, that only takes away but a percentage of people.
In the gym, too?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not as much. I will say this. Men are definitely trying to let you know. They're trying to be a gorilla. They want to
right, so
beat on their chest and, do all that stuff. Yeah. That's what I did.
The argument for it's more comfortable and you get hot is
But it also is, though.
Excuse.
But it also is, though. Just imagine, remember when you were thinking about going to a house full of women and you were wondering if you should wear a bra or not? But in your mind, you knew good and damn well you didn't want to do that. Because it's just great. It feels free. I don't know what it's like to wear a bra and be contained all day, but I'm certain it feels free to snap that thing off. You know what I mean? And run around the house the way that you do in your natural state. I think it's the same thing. Like, if I could be naked more, I would be.
Yeah, I would never be naked working out. I think...
Said that definitively. Yeah, I would never.
Well, just
during any workouts, during any exercises, like if it was normal, you wouldn't think that being naked.
I get really sweaty.
Okay.
And I don't get even the most appropriate of things to do naked, like yoga. It would be an inconvenience because there's nothing to soak up the sweat, and then my body, everything's slippery, and it gets in the way.
What's funny is I had yoga teachers that would tell me flow, which I don't do too much anymore, but yoga teachers that said that if you do that, like people intentionally will put water on their mats and stuff like that because just like spritz some on there, toss a little on there because then it creates this friction. I know it seems ass backwards, but have you ever, you've sweat on your yoga mat before. You never felt like once your foot was on top of that sweat,
it moved.
It just slid right off. Okay. All right.
I've done yoga class, like a hot yoga. So you got real sweaty in a sports bra and shorts and thought that was a big mistake. And so ended up going back with more clothes on.
There's so you would not be naked for any sort of exercise that you could think of.
That I can think of.
For me, for someone with a penis and testicles, it's not very fun because you like things you're getting in the way now. Depending upon what it is you're doing.
So is getting in the way.
No, okay. I was talking about something like something that takes up like some real physical space. Like, you know what I mean? As opposed to just like sweat, like on your body.
But it's the same idea.
It's
like you have there's a whole other thing you have to deal with. So just dress in a way that
eliminates all of that.
So keep your shirt on.
Anywho, so I was not climbing mindfully back when I last climbed. I was definitely in there trying to show people what's up. Wait a minute, are you trying to cut?
Yeah, and I should have got a serrated knife.
No.
Wait, I just got it.
Oh, okay. I was about to say I can get that thing. Okay, so again, back to me trying a bunch of new things since I've been here. So I can sense by your level of excitement that this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the level of ripeness. I tried a fruit that a friend or someone gave me recently, and it's called a sapote. It's like a Salvadorian dish, and I fucked it up. I ate it too early. Now this looks wildly interesting. What is this? A passion fruit, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
Smell it.
I mean, it smells amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I have definitely had passion fruit things. Oh, like the pog juice that I told you about.
But until you have it by itself. And isn't it wonderfully hideous?
It's so nasty. This looks so gross.
I know.
This looks like so many nasty things put together. Like it looks like they're like these could be insect embryos. like if we would have just let this sit a little bit longer, like there would have been some hatching inside of here. Mucus for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like that fish egg, but there's this weird milkiness to it that kind of makes it look gross.
And you scoop it out with a spoon. Yeah, and
the seeds will be real crunchy.
I understand why they would make a pog juice, like orange juice, passion fruit, and guava, because this smells like that's what it's supposed to.
Some people have a hard time with the seeds because they're big and crunchy, but
I eat pomegranate seeds.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. What are people doing when they stop trying new things? You know, like what are they doing? I had white asparagus ice cream with oat crumbles and candied rhubarb. And I don't remember the last time I had rhubarb. I don't remember the last time I'd never had white asparagus, by the way. I don't know what that is.
It just tastes less.
Less. It tastes less. Well, period. Everything you get from asparagus, less than that.
Well, you know, if someone wanted to make it sound good, they'd say it's more mild and it's a little sweeter. It just
which is what the fucking guy said to us.
Right. It just tastes. It's like asparagus, but less.
What a sweetheart John was. Wow.
And the seeds, they're big, but they kind of crack.
Yeah, they go straight.
It's not like a.
Yeah, they go straight down. These things. Tangy.
Yeah.
But a sweetness on the back end, like orange juice. It should make sense. Wow. And then it's so easy. What calories are these things? Look at that. That was so, you hollow that out quickly. Yeah, I could eat 8 of these. Wow.
They're expensive here, but if you go, you know.
Between this, the white asparagus, ice cream. What else did I try that was just crazy?
Salad turnip. Well, that wasn't crazy.
Just what, the salad that you made?
The salad turnip.
What was that?
Yeah. So it wasn't crazy. It was a little white. The white thing that I handed you.
It was like a horseradish / turnip, parsnip freaking
like
thing.
Dirt.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love these things.
Which one was the best?
Oh, between all of those?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're all just surprising. That's the thing. I don't know if I'm going to pick, like, I'm not going to. There are all these different things you can do culinarily, and I don't know if, again, I would now adopt it. It's sort of like those beer floats we were looking at. Right, we have fucking.
You're comparing passion fruit to beer floats?
Well, no, just in the fact it would be something new if I tried it, and they may have some of those flavors down right, like the cherry lime sorbet inside of a pilsner, or an orange sherbet inside of a blue moon, or a fucking chocolate fudge inside of a porter or something like that. Like, I'm certain it makes sense.
There's a best way to do everything, but just because it's the best way doesn't mean that it's still good idea.
wait, if it's the best, it's just,
the
just
best
like
all bad idea.
So it's
still
just
not a good idea.
the best. It's like, man, this was the best bad idea that you come up with. And
so sure, like cherry and lime and Pilsner, maybe that makes sense, but it's still beer and ice cream.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know.
And aside from it, just because if it tastes good, it tastes good. But you have to reckon with the fact that you're eating ice cream and beer now. Like
carbs, alcohol, sugar, dairy. What more could you want? You got each of the major categories that's going to make you feel horrible.
Damn. And you're probably eating a lot of it, all of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so have I, but not in one glass.
So coffee, really, you feel nothing? Like it does nothing? Like I really need to figure this out. Okay,
it's not that it does nothing. It's exactly, if you go a week without drinking alcohol, you have a drink, and you feel it much more than if you had 2 drinks the night before. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you do drink coffee, and you do. There's a noticeable difference from before to after. You just don't feel like it really boosts your productivity. Like you're really gonna get more things done than you would have had you not drank the coffee.
No, because the things that I'm doing, I like to do, and so
you're gonna do them anyway. But are you okay? And you're gonna do them with the same level of fervor. That's what I mean. Like, of course, you're gonna do the things. This was me on Adderall. Like, I'm probably gonna do those things, but the level at which I'm about to do this thing is about to be completely fucking different if I'm hopped up on like coffee Adderall. I think it's just gonna be a certain level of the distance that I'm gonna close in on.
Yeah, I think if I'm feeling that, it's too much coffee.
Oh, really? Oh, and then probably at that point you're shaking and your ears are probably popping.
Like, I can't be like this holding a scalpel and...
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you're trying to do... yeah. You're trying to do you're trying to refine things with, like, these itty-bitty tools.
There's no, like, drink coffee and power through. It's not... That's not
your job. Yeah. Right.
And the coffee, the reason I do it in the morning is it's much more so the process than the way.
Yeah. This was something you did with your mom growing up, like your family, like there was coffee in the mornings and it was like a thing.
And it's like a way to carve out time and there's something.
It's ritualistic.
Yeah. When you go through the same steps, it allows... like holds the space and lets you get something different out of that space each time you do it.
You said the first time you do it?
No, each time you do it.
Oh, each time you do it.
I think lots of people have it when they do something over and over again, they check out and kind of go on autopilot. But when I find when I repeat things, gives me more space.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. It gives you more space. That's roughly what I was trying to describe to you when climbing over and over. It's like at first, I'm just realizing what the fuck I'm feeling. I'm like, okay, I'm high up. That feels weird. Trying to put my hands in my little bunched up toes in this fucking shoe, like in these little crevices and trying to find space. Like, this is new. Okay. And then now the way I'm trying to conform to the wall, like, okay, this is new. Like I'm trying to hug it. I'm fucking twisting my hips out and all this sort of stuff. I'm doing all these new things. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then the more and more I'm doing it, I'm paying attention to what I'm learning and how my body is adapting in real time. And I'm thinking, I'm doing the same wall again and again, but it is creating a new space. Like I'm not, now again, this was me in 40 minutes of time. So it's not something. Now, maybe if I went back there for the next 2 months and I kept doing the same wall, maybe it'd be different. I don't think it would, but I could see why people would just, no. You just go through the motions. You stop thinking about it. You just stop. Although
I think some people want that.
Yeah, right. That's the unplugging, right? That's the exercise for people. Is like, do it so much that you don't have to think about it anymore. So then whilst you're doing it, you can just let your mind just bounce around, do whatever.
Or nothing.
I
think it's a lot of nothing.
When I was doing that fucking thing, I was like, this isn't the type, especially when you get into, I can imagine the people that just free climb. Because I'm doing it and I'm like, oh, if you're a real fucking climber, I couldn't imagine there being an ounce of space to be thinking about anything else when you're climbing a real fucking mountain. Like there's unless you're so good.
Lots of climbers.
Like you're sitting up there, you're thinking about shit. Like you're thinking about other points in your life. Like that's so crazy to me. Like the people that sleep on the side of a mountain, like they just fucking put those metal gears in there and put a hammock up and sleep just over air.
It's not for me.
That's craziness. But at that point in time, you must just be so ingrained. Like you live on the side of mountains most of your life. Like you sleep in the air often, just vertical with the ground 100 feet below you or whatever.
That's a whole different. I think you're looking for something else if you're doing that.
Well, you said a lot of those people are like old drug addicts or whatever, recovering drug addicts.
I mean, the real crazy, free climbing people.
You're looking for that thrill.
Oh, this is entirely unrelated. I had a question I was going to ask you before, and I figured I'd wait. What is the point? Why are we doing this? Well, I was thinking.
That's a great question, but I'm going to let you finish.
Because we would be sitting here having a conversation regardless. And I certainly don't feel like anything that I have to say, especially to you, is something that other people...
Oh, yeah, you're already going the wrong way with this. But okay, I see what you're saying.
Right, well, like, I don't have anything that I need to tell anybody. I don't use a platform. So it's not for my benefit.
I've learned a lot about this as I've gone. I think that formulating it that way, you're already at a deficit.
Well, I mean, okay, I've heard you talk about that, it holds a space for conversation and maybe people that you didn't know well, but none of that, like, we would be sitting here having a conversation regardless, so...
There are a lot of things, and I don't do it for any one reason. It's sort of like when I was talking to you about the professor from University of Las Vegas, and you're being like, well, if this guy, Dr. Russell Herbert, if he's performing these descriptive experience sampling experiments on these students, and he wants to know what their experience is like, and they can't explain it to him, I mean, is he not just trying to let us know that people don't have an inner monologue, that they're really not being real observers of their experience? And the answer is no. If that was the case, it wouldn't be nearly as fun, right? I think even from his standpoint as a scientist, he'd just be like, yeah, I know you guys don't have inner monologues. Like most of us don't. I'm going to shut this experiment down. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like he's doing it because he doesn't even know. And I think a lot of scientists do that. Like, I don't know where this gets us. I just know that I'm interested in it. I know that I'm drawn to it. And I think from that, other things just happen. So as I was having the conversation with you the other day about a friend, and I got like choked up in a moment, which was very interesting because I did not see that shit coming at all. But I was telling you about a friend that was telling me what I had meant to them conversationally, spatially, emotionally, whatever. And that I just brought new perspectives to their life, which meant a lot to them. You just never fucking know. You just never know what your words and your tone of voice and you just hanging out with someone means. It's really, really weird because I've had people say, hey, I listened to that thing and it made me think about X, Y, and Z, or it made me feel X, Y, and Z, or whatever. I cried at this point, or I thought that this was so funny, or I had never thought about this that way. I don't fucking know what's good. You have no idea. Like when you're just having a regular ass conversation, you have no idea the magic that's taking place there because you're a part of it and you're doing it with a friend and you do it all the time. It's not a big fucking deal. From someone sitting in, I've told you this often. I'm like Lindsay, like if people read some of our text message threads, I've told you this. Like it is interesting. You were just, but
it is a big deal.
What's a big deal to whom and when and where? Like I said, if I get older, if I'm 50 years old and I have just archives of just like 500 episodes of conversations I've had through like a decade of my life or 2 decades or something like that. It's interesting to know who I was and who I was talking to and what they were listening to. Okay. Some people will go back and listen to their episodes. Like you might feel 5 years from now, like if for anyone in the world that journals and goes back and looks at things that they wrote down, it's just like, whoa.
And look at them though.
Well, I don't know what people do. I've gone back and looked at certain things and been like, I remember that idea. I remember when I came across that idea. And I remember what that meant, like whether it was out of a movie or a book and what that meant for me and why I wrote this down. Like I can, when sometimes you're transported back, like you see what you were saying and maybe if you have the date, because I'll put like the date, the mood, like stuff like that. And I'll be like, oh, I remember how I felt. Like I remember this. This was a pivotal point in my life. Like this was very interesting. So it's just like documenting that sort of stuff. A lot of people like to take photos. I'm not a photo taker.
Does it, this blinding light?
You gotta stop saying this searing light.
These nausea-inducing headphones.
Yes, all of that.
Does it add importance to you in the moment, or it's just a way? It's just like for future you. Or there are so many different elements to podcasting that like I can't give any one answer. Like, let's take one of these things. These headphones. We can totally take these headphones right now. We can continue to have a like. It's not like if we take this off, like all of this stops. It's all over.
Yeah, exactly. So we can take them off at any point in time.
Can one person wear them and the other person doesn't?
Sure. It don't fucking matter. You can take them off.
So what's the benefit of it?
Well, so I don't think that it's necessary here. And when I say that, I mean between you and I. What I will say is that, actually at all, really. What I will say is that through doing this, you don't speak to that many humans.
Hey!
But when you do, and you speak to them at length matters. Uh-huh. You realize that people, it's not even that. People love their phones. People love distractions. It's so difficult for people to hone their attention for long periods of time to have a long, drawn-out conversation. So there are things like noises that get in the way, and there are a lot of shiny objects
like a squirrel
that get in the way of people's attention and just having like a very present conversation. When you put headphones on, the noise canceling for the most part, headphones, and you're just listening to me now. Now, this is usually what you're doing, so it's not a huge deal for you. But a lot of people absolutely need headphones on. Yeah, for sure.
Have you done it without headphones and had to be like, hey?
Yeah, like pull it back? Yeah. But I did it without headphones for a very long time. So I knew there's a huge difference. Like once I got all this equipment and put headphones on.
Interesting.
And then people felt like once they put them on, they're like, oh. Like you could tell like the focus zoomed in because it feels like you're now inside of a space. Like you're inside of the pod.
That makes me wonder what the average person, what's going on when you're talking to somebody.
We've talked about this all the time. They're thinking about all sorts of shit. Like
10% there.
I don't know if I'm going to give it a percentage. And 10%, you just need to get the fuck out of the door if it's at 10%. But I just feel like Yeah, again, what am I going to watch on Netflix later on? Why did I say that stupid thing to that girl a week ago? Fuck, I've been feeling this slight discomfort in my lower back. I wonder if that's like a real, issue. Like, am I going to have to go to the doctor for that? Is my
dog losing his voice?
Is your dog losing his voice? Sometimes you're just talking to the person and it's literally about what's being said. Like, there's so many levels to anxiety. Just so many. Like, you could just say something. And if I am an extremely agreeable person, I'm just really nice, really kind, but I'm also a little insecure. And if you say something and I don't know what the word is, like, am I going to ask you what the word is and look stupid? Right? Or
it would look way less stupid if you just pretended to know and then you said wrong.
And then the conversation showed that you didn't know. I know. So, but people do that all the time, or maybe I don't want to inconvenience them by having to have them stop their train of thought to now explain to me what they're talking about. There's so many different levels to things, but ultimately, people's minds are all over we know this. People's minds are all over the place. So this just helps people focus and zoom in. I'll tell you what else it does. If you start speaking over me, you will get uncomfortable very fast. Because you're just going to hear these frequencies clashing and you're not going to hear me, and that doesn't happen when you don't have headphones on. Yeah. People speak over each other all the time and they just assume that the message got over there. And
came out of my mouth, and you heard it.
Yeah, and some people don't yield. Like, someone will start speaking, the other person will start speaking, and no one yields, and they just like keep talking. I don't know, maybe hoping that the other person will stop talking. Like, why are you still talking if I'm talking right now? Like, and you hope that they stop talking. And then so both of you guys just keep talking through your whole stream of consciousness, through your whole line of thought, and then you both stop. And now you're looking at each other, and it's like, now who responds to who, right? Because we both weren't listening to each other. And we both have to also, on some level, recognize that we both didn't yield. And we both just powered ourselves into the space and didn't
got up that wall.
Yeah, so it's weird. So headphones cancel that out as well, because you immediately notice that you're speaking over someone else's frequency. So so there's small communicational things. That this facilitates.
It's like handing someone some skills.
Yeah.
That they don't maybe have.
Right.
Because you should be able, when you're talking over somebody, if you're listening to them, it should sound wrong.
Yes.
And that, I mean, I know I do it to you, but there's like a back and forth. You should also be able to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, do I keep going or am I going to stop? Or like,
yeah, there's an aptitude. There's a sensitivity. Exactly. Everything is not the right answer all the time. Like, so you just, you figure it out. It's like everything. I feel like it's just best to look at it as dance partners. Yeah, don't step on my fucking toes. Like, why are you stepping on my toes?
Well, that's pretty cool. So you hand someone a set of headphones and they're better at conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of what it takes.
Huh.
That's a lot of what it takes. And then, like I said, through time, all of this slowly starts to go away. It's only like the first 30 minutes people are really worried about like microphones and headphones and lights and all that sort of stuff. And just
I'm not going to get used to that.
It surprises me what human beings get used to very fast.
I mean, okay, maybe I'll get used to it. I'll never
like it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll continue to wish that it was not there.
What? Just the fact that it's in your consciousness is something you wish wasn't there. It's taking up too much space.
Yeah. You know, I went into the kitchen this morning and I turned on the lights because, you know, it's the kitchen and there's dishes and you put things away and see where. And I thought, this is filling up a space that doesn't need to be filled up. When I turned off the light.
When you turned off the light?
When I turned on, like kind of out of habit. And it felt like, I mean, it's a very physical, the light's filling up all the space and it doesn't need to be filled up. It's like...
What the fuck are you talking about right now?
It's this, like with music or with a light, or you walk into a room and you turn on noise or you turn on light and it's taking up, it's like filling up space that doesn't need to be filled up. It's okay.
You just feel like it's just, it's just
okay
out of place.
If it's quiet or if it's dark.
Oh, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I walk the way I walk. That's why everyone says I have light feet. I like to see what it's like if I'm not there. Like if I'm just not disrupting things. It's my idea about grace. Like what are things like when you're just like Dracula, just fucking coasting through, like you're just gliding through, and you're doing things and they're effective. Like I'm not talking about being the type of person where you're just walking on eggshells because you don't want to disturb anything, but you're gracefully and efficiently and effectively getting your things done whilst making the least amount of disruption possible. I think there's something so beautiful in that. That's the rock climbing meditation for me. Like if this could look like, what would ballerina rock climbing look like? Like that's what I want to do. I want to know what it's like to just every movement is just smooth and just leads into the next one. Like how can I create that? That's what I want to do.
Sometimes though if you walk with your heels,
walking on your heels is just so boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, but sometimes the presence lets you see what it's like when you're not there. Because it's so jarring.
Oh, because it's jarring? Yeah, but you're always there. So if you're just always stomping around, how do you ever get what's happening when you're not doing that?
Other activities?
What, sitting down? Like not using your feet at all?
Well, like climbing or like...
Oh, like you just...
For me, walking, isn't it?
Mm.
And, I think walking for me, many years of being sort of almost apologetic for my presence.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stopped doing that, my heels started hitting the floor.
Oh, yeah. Is that right? Yeah. You were tiptoeing around. See,
yep.
Yeah, you were the person I was just talking about. Yeah, you were tiptoeing around trying not to.
Well, and being many years of dance training, like you learn, that's also habit of walking, but it's it's holding something back and kind of in an apologetic way, and not necessarily a productive way.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I'm doing at all.
And so now I just put my foot on the floor how it wants to go.
Yeah, I mean, I also am aware of other people. So, I don't want to have to make a ruckus if I don't need to. Like just stomping over people's heads. Like if I don't need to do that, I'd like to not do it. And I don't need to do it. So I'm probably not going to do it.
Do you think I walk particularly loud or just louder than you?
Everyone walks louder than me. That heel certainly does come down. But it was like what you were asking me about conversation. Like in that 45 minutes or whatever space anyone's holding when I'm having a conversation with them and they feel, or I think that they feel some sort of unpleasantness. Is it my responsibility to do something about that? Mm-hmm. It's that same sort of thing. I just think it's unnecessary for me to make them feel worse, or to do anything that would aid or bolster or encourage the anxiety. Like I just think it's unnecessary. So I don't do it. So it's sort of like just walking. I don't need to disturb people with my walking. It's unnecessary, so I don't do it. And there's just certain things you just don't have to do that would clearly and directly disturb other humans. So I just don't do those things, and it doesn't hurt me to not do them.
Well, so yeah, that's the difference.
That's the thing. It doesn't disturb me.
Something away from you, then it's no. I mean, to me, it's not worth it.
I've talked about being in the sauna before and like the light being off. And like, I didn't cut the light off when I went in there, but like the light's off. And then someone coming in and like cutting the light on and playing music. Like, now, some people are like, Earl, why don't you fucking tell a person to like cut the light back off and to do this and do that? And I'm like, that's a perspective. I wouldn't be upset at you for doing that. But I'm most likely just going to adapt. Because for them, I think it means more to them to have the light on and to play their music than it does for me to tell them to stop doing that. So I'm going to allow them to do that thing. That's how I feel about it. A lot of just release of resistance is where I'm at in life. Because it doesn't matter to me.
Yes, I know.
You know what I mean? It's like somebody...
Which I thought for the longest time was laziness.
Right. Yeah, laziness or a lack of backbone or spine. You know what I mean? Something like that. I never got
that. I just thought you were lazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You definitely did. Yeah.
But I think you just tend towards the path of least resistance.
Yeah. Because because if I didn't, I would be admitting to myself that it's one of two things. Either I'm being petty about something that I don't care about, which is a bad way to go. Like I'm trying to start a fight over something I don't care about. Or I really do care about the thing. And then I have to ask myself, well, why do you care so much about this thing? And then as soon as that question's asked, I'm like, oh, I don't actually. Let me get out of here. So that's usually where I'm at. Like I don't care. I had a conversation with my friends about being out with your significant other. And we actually, matter of fact, had a conversation about this yesterday, you and I, about being out with your family and someone trying to proposition you, trying to get your interest in front of your family, and like how that can go wrong and how it can go right. It takes grace. It takes grace to be able to do these things, man, to walk these fucking lines, because they're very, very thin. But for me, if someone were to come up to me and I'm with my significant other, just like if I was with my family and someone came up and tried to proposition my daughter, I'm in observer mode immediately, because I'm so interested in like the behavioral study aspect of it. Oh my God, I just want to know, like, please don't let me block this situation here. I just want to see what happens, because again, we are in a controlled environment. If I'm with the family, there's no young boy that's about to come over and overpower the situation. We are in total control here. Like everything is fine. So shoot your shot. Try. Like see what let's see what happens. This is fucking exciting. Let's see what happens here. As long as the daughter's okay and she feels comfortable, again, she can speak for herself. Like, let's see. I'm just enjoying my meal. Let's see what the fuck happens. And so, same thing with your significant other. If someone came up and like you were at a bar and it wasn't completely obvious that you were with the person, or maybe even if, well, I don't know, but the person comes over and they try to proposition your significant other, what is your response to that? Like, what do you do? Right? Because as far as I'm concerned, again, my significant other, like my hypothetical daughter, can speak for herself. She's a whole human.
Yeah, it really has nothing to do with you.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So I don't need to play a part in that unless I need to play a part in that, unless it gets out of...
Well, yeah, if the person that you care about is asking for
assistance, like, hey,
right,
this is getting... Yeah, it's like, okay, I need to jump in. Tag me in. Like, I'm in. Immediately. No questions asked. But aside from that, as long as you're comfortable, I want to see what happens here. I just want to observe. I want to see what this person has to say. Like, what's their shtick? What's like, how are they going to try to sell you? Like that. How are they going to try to market themselves? That's interesting to me. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with compliments? How do you deal with someone kind of bullshitting you? Like someone trying to win you over? Like that's so interesting to me. I wish I could watch people on dates all the time. It's so fascinating. Friends are fun to watch, But the least familiar people are, those situations are so much fun to watch because you're trying to see these two awkward people. Like, how did they figure it out? Because most people are not good at that. So it's fun watching people fumble through things and figure it out at some point in time. Like watching a child drop stuff and pick it up and drop stuff and fall on the ground and get back up and keep going. And you're rooting for them. Like, I see you're working towards something. You're getting there. I don't know what exactly how you're building it in your mind, but it's getting there. You're building a muscle. So it's fun watching people do that. It's good.
I have no idea if I'll be any good at it.
Be any good at being the observer of it?
No, being the person on the date.
Oh, if you'd be any good at the date. Why do you say?
Because there's kind of this understanding of an awkwardness and I don't think I would participate in the way that the other person was expecting.
Well, who the fuck knows how they would expect? Kumquat time. Weird names. Oh, this must have come. I bet you. Alexa. Hey, Alexa. Where does the term kumquat come from? I bet you it's Indian or Arabic.
Found on Wiktionary. Kumquat is a noun meaning a small, orange citrus-like fruit which is native to Asia. Fortunella.
Thank you, sorry, Alexa. Can't call the wrong nation. Is that what? Yeah, that makes sense. Kumquat.
Why does that make sense?
K's and Q's. Yeah. K's and Q's. We don't use like a whole lot of those.
Yeah.
On this side of the world. Or in like the Spanish speaking world. Not like, not
Yeah,
K's.
like any other romantic language.
Yeah, it's not a thing. So how do you think that these humans are expecting you to present yourself or behave on a date? Why are you going into it with these notions? What are you talking about,
I'm not
Lindsay?
going into it. That's the thinking.
What?
That's not taking care of it. It's just a general wondering. I'm not concerned.
Okay. But what do you think? Okay. Why do you think that you are not going to participate at a friendly dating level?
I didn't say I'm not going to be friendly. I just don't think that...
Well, inappropriate... Because you feel like you're not going to be an appropriate
it would be appropriate
partner.
To me. I think there are very few people that would be expecting someone to behave the way that I behave.
What are you going to do? I mean... Okay.
Not make small talk? Not make them feel comfortable if they're awkward? I
don't think you have to do those things.
But I think there's an expectation, especially if it's a man. I
know I've been on dates with women that say that there are just times when you just take the phone out. And clearly you don't want to go out to do this, but phones just come out and you just start scrolling. You start doing something else. Maybe you start looking for another date. People do that.
If I felt the urge to take my phone... See, that's the thing. I would say, this is just not... We're not...
Yeah.
It's time to leave.
That's the thing. Taking your phone... And this is why all these social things are fascinating to me. If you're with a friend and they take a phone out to do something, there's more of allowance there. But if you're meeting someone, it's a stranger, and you guys are going out on a date, and they take their phone out.
I mean, if they take their... Whatever. You don't know what's going on unless you say, hey, it bothers me when you take your phone.
There's a duration of time that is not really allowed.
But if I am meeting a brand new person and I'm supposed to be excited about them and I feel the urge to take my phone out, something's not... Because I'm not that... I don't often have that urge, and so... But you may just call it a night.
You may just go out on a date and the person is not expecting any of these things, like for you to make them feel, for you to coddle them or anything like that. I mean, you've met people that they wanted you to take care of them, but that happens. But everybody doesn't want that, and so you may just come across some people that just You're like, yeah, sure, man. I'm not gonna figure it the fuck out. Like your conversation, I don't think you're difficult to talk to. Maybe it's also because I'm me.
Right. That's my right. Of course, I'm not difficult to talk to for you, but if it's not the right person,
so you don't like talk to me about small talk. You don't. When you say you don't want to have small talk, do you not see a utility in it? Like, if someone starts...
Right, because yeah, certainly there's a utility in it. And I'm not going on a date for the sake of utility. That's...
So if you were to go out, like, someone interested you, you interested them, you guys, let's get some coffee. You know, yeah, sure, that's fine. I got nothing going on that day, let's fucking do it. And you go out, what would you... I mean, and this is so hypothetical because there would be so many things that you may want to talk to depending upon this specific set of circumstances. Like if you guys met at a fucking bookstore or wherever it met, because those are all factors now. But what level of conversation are you looking for it to start off with? is like where I'm trying to figure it out. Because I used to say these types of things that you're saying. And I distinctly remember being on the latter end of an acid trip and going to my parents' house. And my dad was gone somewhere. I think he was working. And I'm talking to my mom and my mind's still kind of going. And I'm just like, Mom, like, I did acid yesterday. I'm still kind of on it a little bit. I got to talk to you about some things. And I'm talking to, I was like 21, 22 probably at this time. And I was like, I realized I don't want to talk to anyone about any of that small shit ever. Like, I just want to talk about what is going on at a truly profoundly existential level.
Okay.
That's where I was at. I'm saying it's an extreme, but that's where I was at. And slowly I moved throughout that spectrum and experienced more. I'm trying to figure out exactly where you are on the spectrum and what it is you're trying to get from the conversation. Like, can you explain? Because sometimes it's very difficult to explain what it looks like or sounds like out of a conversation. Because you're not saying, I need the super existential stuff. Because I've had to tell people this as well. Like, we don't have to talk about the cosmos and you know, the mysticism of the world and all this sort of shit. But there's still a centeredness about the types of conversations that I do like. And I've just mostly been calling them adult conversations, right? Where just two people can look at each other and just speak level-headedly about ideas and tell stories and laugh. And there are a lot of people that have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah, you need a better word for it. Adult.
Exactly. Exactly. I know. It's really tough to talk about. So I'm trying to ask you.
It could be about anything. It could be about the smallest, most unimportant.
Which we talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we talk about unimportant shit all the time. But it most certainly doesn't seem that way.
Well, yeah. So it's not subject matter. It's just the quality of the conversation.
Right? Because you and I, like, we're talking about, what the fuck is it? Like red leaf cabbage or...
Red oak leaf lettuce.
Red oak leaf lettuce,
the
right?
Wilty shit.
The wilty shit in that fucking field greens mix that has been pissing salad eaters off for years now. Everyone that eats salads here and gets that salad mix, you know what I'm talking about. It's the purple shit in that salad mix that ruins the rest of the salad mix. Brown, it's leaky, it starts smelling. And
the other stuff starts to rot.
And it doesn't last long. You have to eat the thing immediately.
Like a week.
You gotta, and that's pushing it. You gotta wait.
And if you let it warm up in your car on the way home, and then you put it in the fridge and condensation.
See, I wasn't even doing the science. See, I wasn't even doing the science.
That up and down. Lettuce doesn't.
So you should probably bring like a freezer bag as you purchase your items to the store.
If that's what you're doing.
To try to preserve the red oak lettuce. Yeah, exactly. But this is an example of something. This doesn't fucking matter.
No, but now we're talking about it again.
And that's so to some degree, that's the level of conversation. See, that's what I'm saying. I think you can very easily find someone and have a conversation about leaves, or whatever the case is.
Very easily?
Okay.
I
did a little too much. I did a bit too much. So
I'm just saying your average person
won't remark on the small things.
Yeah.
But although they're speaking about what you think was my best way of looking at, I've talked about the pool. The headphones. Oh yeah. All right, it's now fine. Again, say you can take them off at any moment.
I'm not there yet. It's fine still.
Damn, what did I just say? Oh, the pool aspect. Yes, of if you're in a pool, there's this hypothetical pool has a shallow end and a deep end. Mm-hmm. And there are people, conversationally speaking, that will stay in the shallow end. That's where they feel comfortable. They stay in the shallow end. They stand up in the shallow end. They just want the water to just hit their knees, and they just like to splash around and dance and like throw frisbee and play whatever games that people like to play, right? A little Marco Polo over there. That's where they like to do. And that's fine. And so you speak about lettuce on a very superficial, just like lettuce level. Like, I love lettuce.
Leafy greens are good for you.
Leafy greens are good for you. I hear they have vitamin K and antioxidants in them, and they may reduce blood pressure and cancer in you, and it's great. What do you like to put in your salads? That's a salad conversation. Maybe you don't like that one so much, but it's a salad conversation. And then there's another way of doing it. The world is weird. There's a way of just getting deep into certain things that it's weird for certain people to be able to tap into that and not. Because again, it doesn't mean you have to be a scientist and learn how to break down the molecular buildup of what a leafy green is and get into all of that, because we're not talking about that stuff. But yet still there's something compelling about the conversation that we're having. So it's interesting trying to tap into whatever the fuck that thing is.
The pool analogy is good.
Oh, right. Hold on. Let me finish that. And then there are people that travel over to the deep end, but they still stay above water. They still tread water. So those are people talking about seemingly deep things, and they're just using all the right buzzwords of whatever paradigm you're living in at that time. So use all the right buzzwords. They say inclusivity. Maybe they use the words, they say so, just a bunch of political shit. Who the fuck knows? Maybe they're talking about COVID. Maybe they're talking about socio-economical issues. They're talking about race. They're talking about religion. They're talking about war. Who knows what the fuck they're talking about? So they use all these things. Maybe they use the word mindfulness and wellness in there. So they say a bunch of words and they're talking about deep shit. Oh, the cosmos. You ever think about aliens? You ever think about consciousness? But they're very surface, deep things.
That is worse than the shallow end.
See? And then you can actually go under the water in the deep end.
People in the shallow end are at least having fun.
Yeah. But also people in the deep end doing that often don't know that they're shallow, deep talkers.
Yeah.
Right? Until you fuck around and meet someone that likes to go deep sea diving. And then you're like, oh no.
I didn't mean it.
Exactly. But you can also be in the shallow end and you can put your head under the water. Yeah. You can still get underwater. Yeah. You can still talk about very shallow things. White asparagus ice cream. Let's talk about it. We can still talk about those things and reach a certain depth about it that is exhilarating and does take you having to hold your breath. Like you're going to have to do something to get there. So it's interesting, but I think that analogy kind of sums up what it is that you're looking for. Like you just want that X factor.
End of the pool. It doesn't matter what end of the pool.
Right. It doesn't matter what end of the pool it is.
But I'm still, I don't know that it's laziness. I'm just disinterested in.
You're just disinterested
getting in the pool.
Yeah, when you're disinterested in something, that's just what it is.
Yeah. Why would I try and talk myself into it?
Have you never found utility in trying to talk yourself into something? Like, because you know you're disinterested in it, but you know that there's a space, like, you could get interested in it. Like, you know that the interest resides there, but you're uninterested in finding the interest. Like there are plenty of things. I could be a fucking archaeologist. I know I could. Could. When I say that, what I mean is mentally speaking, exactly. Like there are things that like I could do if I wanted to do. A couple
of months ago.
Did I refute that?
Yes, because I said if I wanted to, I could be.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Your response was, I have. Well, you said it in a nicer way, but I have an issue with could.
Yeah, I mean, it is a weird thing because you're just saying, well, if I was something, then I would be that.
Well,
you know,
but specifically talking about
it's like people saying, it's like saying when people just like, oh, if I was that person, I would have did. No, you wouldn't have. If you were that person, you would have done exactly what they did because you'd be them.
Right. But there's a difference in saying if you wanted to do so, because you're already creating a world that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So if you were in the position where you wanted to be an archaeologist, you could do it.
And I think that who I am now, there's a level of interest in archaeology that I could find if I decided to go into that hole. It's boring. You think
I've done it.
Why is it boring?
Well,
to you,
unless you're, it depends on your role. So I was just digging and. You can be a conservator on site and you can actually, work on the objects that come out of the hole. You can be that person running the dig. But if you're just there digging, it's all you're getting a hole and you dig up an inch of dirt in the most even layer possible. And then you dig up the next inch of dirt. It's the smallest picture of the coolest project. Right. And you just have this like, getting that whole dig. You can take water break, but get back in.
Damn.
It's not, it's a really incredible project. And
yeah, it's not just like grand adventure. No. You're just like, pulling up old relics out of the ground. Like, oh, look at this guy.
Actually putting blinders on and digging.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
There are many people that love archaeology.
So yes, for sure.
That's just my perspective.
So point being, okay, you don't have an interest in having the whether it be the deep talk or the small talk with the people. It just doesn't interest you. Yeah, if you just can't care if you don't care, and if you're not thinking about, well, why? Yeah, I get it. I usually see that there is an immense, like say you're reading something to some people and you're like, man, this really means something to me. And then they don't really ask you why they don't really ask you why that meant something to you. They just kind of gloss over it. That's interesting because even though you don't see interest in the passage they read, they do. So it would interest me to know what they saw. And so that's what I'm kind of getting to here is, do you see the interest where you are uninterested?
Yes.
Right.
And I have this general idea that something in the future is coming. And it'll get here when it gets here.
Okay.
And in the meantime, there's so many other things I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's generally how I live. Like that's a lot of the questions you have asked me about why I do things the way I do that's a rough answer of it.
There is yes, definitely. In all of I have interest in what I'm disinterested in, but I have no interest in
and you can't
plowing. You could try. People.
If I would in another life, I'd be a cobbler. I'd want to know how to put shoes together. I'd want to know how to be a chemist. There are infinite lives that I would want to live. I'd want to do them all. I would want to do them all. That's why when I was talking about that character Hobbs from the Dream movie or the Dream show Sandman, the guy that does want to live forever.
Yeah.
That's great because there are certain people that I know now that are like 17 years old and they're done with life. You know what I mean? They're like, oh God, this fucking place sucks. I hate being here. Like, I'm so over it. Like, whoa, gotta do this, gotta do that. And then you have this gentleman that's been living for 600 years and he's like, I need more. I need more time. Like, I need more time. It's so beautiful. This is so grand. Like, you can live as many, like this, it's forever changing. It's always changed. Like, people stay the same, but change. And the world stays the same, but changes. Like, and you get to see the correlation between those two. It's like, if you got to live for 500 years, you just get to see people continuously treat each other like shit for decades and
I
for
think that would
centuries. But then you see beautiful things happen, like institutions come together that stop, homelessness over here, or that feed people over there. And you're like, oh man, these people have been dying for so long. I'm so glad someone's finally doing something about that. And like you would get to see those things, but then you get to see genocides and a ton, Salem witch trials and all sorts of weird shit. There was a book that Mikey gave me that his trainer Blaze gave him, who's also been on the podcast. She's awesome. Called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And it's about a woman that kind of sells her soul to the devil in a sense.
Sounds familiar.
And I think there's also a movie.
Oh, okay. I'm sure I haven't seen it.
And I've talked about this book countless times because the author does such a great job of really incorporating all the things that people don't normally think about when they're like, oh yeah, live for a long time. It's like, yeah, but what does that mean? Like, if you make that deal in 1600 and you're a black guy, depending upon where you are in the world, like, you're going to have to deal with some stuff to be immortal, right? Like, you might have to go through slavery and you're like, fuck, this is rough. Like, I decided to be, like, I'm immortal. So it's like, all right, I got to go through slavery, but how long is slavery really going to last? Like 200 years? Okay. That's a long time, but I'm also immortal, so it's not that long. Like, I can figure it out. Like, it'll be over at some point, and I'm going to have to live through this. And just like bad things that people live through, I'm going to be like, that's going to make me who I am. So if I'm immortal and I can't die, they can do whatever they want to me. They can beat the shit out of me. They do whatever they want. Like, I'm not going to die. So I'm just going to be here, or I'm going to escape at some point in time. But like, you have to think about all these different things. This person was a woman. Like, it was not okay to be in Paris and just be walking around as a woman at the time. It was very weird. So she was dressing herself up as a man, going into certain places and deepening her voice. And there were just so many things that this person had to do. And there was so much built through just these centuries of living life. It was a very, very beautiful, beautiful book.
It's an interesting to try and write on that.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially if you're taking the show you were talking about, if you're taking the perspective that the person that was just a normal human and then granted, immortality. Because, that's not a thing that exists as far as I'm aware of. Does that...
But it kind of does. And this is my theory on that. And now, this is so funny because it's taken this. This is why I was interested in what I was interested in yesterday, which was that fucking website gethighnow.com, where there is something that I need to read there.
I know.
About time compression. I think that there's something to that because I've experienced it. I just don't know, because their time compression, what they say was some guy named Milton in like the 1950s that figured out, like, if you took 3 days of your time and for every 15 minutes you acted as if an hour passed.
5. I think it was 5.
No, I think it was in hours.
But every 5 minutes an hour goes by.
Oh, is that what it was? Every 5 minutes?
I think so.
That was crazy. No, because an hour, maybe. Because then that means that you're having like 12 meals a day. The
ratio of 15 to an hour, that's only fast forwarding by a quarter.
Oh, so right. So it would be much more. You're right. You're sleeping every 20 minutes. or, you're sleeping every hour for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're trying it. So you have to clearly call off of work. Like you have to take these 3 days out so you can do this. And I'm trying to figure out what the benefit is of compressing this time like that and seeing what that's like. I wonder if you compress time in that way, if you take 3, 4, 5 days, because they say things start to get really, really weird. If you compress your time that way and you're living life in such a abundantly filled way, when you come out of that and you readjust to your regular life, I guess I would imagine that you would feel like much more is happening in a 24-hour day. This is a little bit what I was trying to tell you about yesterday, because before I wanted to be as mindful as possible, I certainly wasn't experiencing what I experience now. So when I wake up, and I wake up relatively early, when it's time for me to go to sleep, I have experienced such a day, such a wild day. It seems like the breadth of it has been augmenting, and I do feel like the day takes place in these parts, these acts, if you will. And it's very, very interesting to look back on your day and be like, wow, all these things took place today. It was, what a fucking day. And I feel like in some ways I have compressed time.
Yeah, I imagine, having done it, it's just another tool to change your perspective in the way, meditation, drugs, compressing time. I mean,
well, the name of the book was Get High Now Without Drugs.
It's just
ironically
another way to get to this, wherever that is for you, to stretch your brain.
There's so many schools of thought. Like, people have to come up with all this shit. They have to try to find all these different ways to like get someone to settle the fuck down. So now they're like, well, let's compress time. Let's have you live every hour, every 5 minutes. Every
5 minutes is an hour.
What? No, it can't.
No, every 5 minutes. Yeah, no, that's right. Yes, that is correct.
That seems so intensive, but gethighnow.com. I'm definitely going to look at that. I want to know. We were talking about all the different aspects of like wellness. All these things that people fucking do. Like Reiki and all these things. Oh, I never got to tell you.
Oh, have you done it?
No, but I've been interested. Because I just want to know what the fuck people are talking about.
How much would you pay for it? I don't know what it cost. I imagine like the same as a massage.
If it was like a massage and there's like you pay for a session. What were we laughing about? Oh, life coaching sessions. Per life.
Per session.
It's like if it's an hour sessions. And if I would pay not as much as a massage. I've thought about this before with going to clairvoyance huts, like when people go to like fortune tellers on the side of the road, like when they go to those little fucking huts
on the side of the road.
You never seen fortune teller huts sitting on the side of the road? Maybe I live in a weird place. I can drive. When I was living in Manassas, I know a place I could easily drive 5 minutes and go to 10 minutes and go to a couple of clairvoyance huts. I don't know why I keep saying huts. I mean, they're buildings, but they're small. Like, they look like little tattoo shops. You know, there's probably a lot of beads in there. Mm-hmm. For sure.
What is there is it a particular...
I don't know what the fuck is going on in there, but that's my interest.
Okay, so you've never watched it.
I don't...
Like, what's the... That's so specific. It's like a... What's the group of people? What's the population? Why is there such a concentration?
That's what I've been trying to figure out, because they've been there since I was like 5 years old. I'm like...
Manassas?
I'm like, yes, these are going to be the next Krispy Kremes. I'm like, I'm like, why is this business surviving?
Krispy Kreme.
Don't get me started on Krispy Kreme. But it's like, how is this business surviving for either you are a drug front or you're some illegal activities happening through this thing.
That would be absurd to choose that as.
Or you're throwing the scent off because it's like, who does that? That would be very conspicuous of me to do some weird shit like that. People do really weird, conspicuous things to get out of shit. All the time. There was a serial killer that used to serial confess to crimes he hadn't done. So then the local police just kind of got wind. They're just like, listen, this is fucking crazy guy. Like, he just confesses to stuff. And then he went and like killed little girls.
Cried wolf.
Little girls. And yeah, but he used it in the reverse. Right. Exactly. And then he came and confessed. They're just like, all right, buddy. Like, okay. And like, let him go. And started arresting other people. Like, sometimes
that's
people
a real person. That happened?
Yeah. You watch so I talked to you about a movie called Blackbird. Watch the show Blackbird, completely unrelated, but I love both of these things. There's a show Blackbird on like Apple TV,
like a documentary, or it's supposed to be.
No, it's a, what do you call it? Like it portrays a real story.
Is it scary?
You may not like. It's not scary, but this guy was a serial rapist and killer.
I mean that.
So I don't know if that's.
I was gonna say that's fine. It's not fine.
Yeah, I don't know if that scares you. No, because the stuff that scares you is like. No, it's not like that.
Enjoy that.
No. Yeah, you gotta watch. It's about a drug dealer that gets caught by the police, and he is now being employed by the police if he wants to be pardoned to go into a maximum security prison for the criminally insane to get a confession out of this guy without this guy knowing. So he has to try to befriend this guy and get information from him so that he doesn't get out of jail, because his little raping ass is about to get out of jail. So like the police are trying to stop this. They're like, he always gets out of jail. Like, we have to do something. We need you to get in there and get a confession. Like, you're good with people. People love you. Like, we want to use that asset. And you're going to jail for 10 years anyway. So, like, you can either stay in this jail that you're in, or we can transfer you there and you can try to get pardoned by doing this job for us. Now, if you don't get it, you're going to do your time there, though. So, it's a risk. What do you want to do here? And he went in there and did it. But it's crazy. Yeah, so people definitely do that shit. Either way, I don't know what the fuck is going on in these places, but I wonder how much I would pay to have someone tell me my future or what's going on in my life. Like, just to go in there and get the vibe. Because I really think I'm going to do this. I've been talking about it for a while, but to really walk in there and just look around, like, I want to see the bees, where the feathers, the dream catchers.
Like tarot card reading?
I don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay. I have to know. Because I have all the same questions that you have.
Because I was going to say, I'm sure you could Google what's an average session, but what is it?
Yeah, I think I would do
reading?
It. So the Reiki thing. So someone comes up to me at work. And we, again, as I've talked to you before, this is one of the various things that interests me about communication. When you start talking to certain people, what happens is not only there's so many layers to it. You're using words and you're trying to get across like a literal understanding of what it is you're saying. There's some tone of something story-like or figurative happening. There's more of just an overall vibe or tone to the interaction that's happening, which kind of lets you know, are we bonding, or is there something weird that's happening here? Are we like moving apart? And then there's a language game that's being played as well. Because if you talk to someone, depending upon, as I was saying about the receptionist at the float tank place yesterday, you start saying certain words or asking certain questions, and then they give a little bit of what they say, and they'll throw a couple of words in there. And then you start playing this interesting language game where, broadly speaking, you guys have some of the same understandings about some things, like wellness and health and mindfulness. And now it could vary much inside of that, but we at least have that as a base.
Do you ever intentionally direct?
Well, I certainly direct. Like, direct is
look
probably
for a particular version of a person.
Oh, do I look for a particular version of a person through my inquiries. I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary.
No, it's not necessary.
Yeah, so I like it to be as organic as possible. And I feel like if you just root yourself, it's everything I live by is very cliche. If you truly just root yourself and you make a practice to do it so that you're not trying to root yourself, and you find yourself in that space, just allow it to happen. And again, embrace the crudeness. It's gonna be you're two humans. It's gonna be a little clunky and weird and not always fitting right. That's fine. So no.
Even
just talk.
Some people ask.
They will start showing you. That's the thing. All you have to do is just be there and speak. People usually, they will start speaking about things that they care about to some degree. And then it's up to you to see like what they're like, look at them. Like where are they directing things? Like where do they light up? You know what I mean? And then you ask certain questions and then you see people light up sometimes and you're like, okay, like I see what area we're in. I'm interested naturally because you're interested. Like I'm looking at your face and I'm like, oh, that thing. Like I want to know about that thing now. So, and then it just happens because it's a natural.
I have a hard time staying rooted if the person on the other end is kind of asking to be directed.
It's really just about how much direction you want to give, because it really shouldn't take a whole lot.
Well, and that's basically the small talk that I'm talking about that I'm disinterested in. So
like you said, there is this bare minimum question that people can ask and you don't need to be a wildly adept conversationalist. Hey, what are you into? What are you interested in? To regular ass you, that's what a regular ass human being sounds like speaking to someone else. You don't have to be wildly intricate. It doesn't have to be smooth. What are you interested in? Like, what captures your attention? I want to know why. Because there's a very good chance if we share stuff, that's awesome. Because we can get into that and maybe I'll find some insight that I didn't have before. We can just fucking nerd over the insights that we do share. Like, that's fun. I don't have to learn anything new here. And then if it isn't, then I'm bound to learn something new. If it's something that you have that I just never, dancing, like if it's, fucking passion fruits, whatever the fuck it is that you introduce me to, I'm going to find myself getting into it. It's just very easy for me. It's very, very easy for me. You start talking to someone about something that they're interested in, they have an insight into it. And I am not always going to go out of my way to find the interest in the uninteresting things to me currently, right? As we spoke of. But if I'm speaking to someone and it comes up, like I'm there for it. Yeah, like I'm not going to go and try to start researching it and shit like that, like on my own necessarily. But if it's brought to me, like I'm there for it. I'm not just going to neglect it or, nullify it from the space. Like you're fucking excited about it. I'm stoked that you're excited about something. Because how often you get to talk to people and they'll be excited about something.
Is there any time recently where that hasn't worked out? Someone's really excited about something and it's just hard for you to care?
No, absolutely not. Because why are you interested in it? Like, If you can formulate questions good enough and you have enough time, that's why I like, doing the podcast and recording it. If you have enough time to ask pointed questions, the person may learn through having to think about things and articulate that they didn't know. I'll get to see the construction of it happen in front of me. but I think we can come to some understanding as to why you're interested in something. Like it's not simply just like I don't know. Like no, you know something about why you're interested in it, and I want to know what that's about. Even if I think like I would never want to do that thing that you're talking about. Even after you talk about it for an hour, I'll never find the time.
You must get people trying to talk you into it. Because if they're excited about it and then you're showing interest, do you get lots of sales pitches?
I talked to someone that was a witch, and I'm like, what does that mean? What do you do? Where do you get this insight? Right? Because I'm asking questions like this. Okay, you're a witch. You cast spells.
Says you or
says her.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. I've seen a setup where like there was like you couldn't touch that area. Like there was a glass with some ash and some shit underneath it and stuff around it. It was like that stays out there. It's just do not tamper with it. Okay, right? I'm like, well, I never say that I know everything. And that's a great place to start from. Because if you start from there, then you just get to play around with ideas. And I still like to have fun. Like, I'm just going to play around with ideas. Let's say witchcraft is real. I don't fucking know. There's mad shit I don't know. There's mad shit people have thought that they've known. And then now we're in this technological age. And it's like, you guys didn't know shit then. So imagine the things that we still don't know. We're not at the apex of knowledge and wisdom. Or we are. And that would be fucking crazy too.
That'd be disappointing.
Like we capped out. Like,
yeah, this is it.
Man, that'd be fucking crazy. Woo, that'd be crazy. Yeah, that would be really fucking crazy. Jesus Christ. I hope that's not the case. I really hope that's not the case. What was I talking about?
The witch.
The witch. Right. So let me ask you questions. Anything that has cult-like smells to it. It could be religion. I want to know where you're getting your data. Right? Now, maybe it's not really data-driven, but I'm still going to ask you how you feel about it. Like, what are you intuiting? Mm-hmm. Because you're telling me that you physically see spirits walking around. And that you're letting people know, hey, do you know someone that looks like this? Do you know someone that used to wear earrings like this, has long blonde hair, blue eyes, they're about 5'8", really nice smile. Like that person's trying to tell you this. Like that may happen in conversation if she feels like you're open to that sort of information, not just like regular people. Right? You're telling me things like that. I assume she hasn't told me about any spirits behind me, but she has told people like, hey, I think your grandpa is like behind you. Does he look like this? And we'll tell them things. And from what I've heard, some people are just like, that's weird that she would say that information because that's not right. Because she shouldn't know that information. The power of, listen, knowledge goes both ways, because knowledge will make you aware of certain things and have you take certain things into account. And for a lot of hyper rational people, it'll also have you discount a lot of things. So I try to be somewhere in the middle. I'm like, people take advantage of people's belief systems and lack of rationale and shit, all in their susceptibility to, their impressionability, in their fear, their vulnerability all the time. How is this not like that? How do people not capitalize off of this and put it into a consumer space? In other words, where do you get your spells? Like, where do you get your advice?
Yeah.
Where do you get your tutelage? Like, where are you? Where's the education system for this? This particular person came from a line of some witchcraft, right? So there was some things that were bestowed down verbally and through experience. There are some people do go into these huts I'm talking about, and she says her name is Brianna. She says that she can sense a vibe. She can sense the energy and kind of like know if the person is bullshitting or not. Like,
so she feels like she can walk in
and she'll know, like, exactly, like, this is ridiculous. You know, I'm like, what about websites? Like, getting spells, buying books, because you really accrue spells. Well, you don't just make them up in your head.
Okay, so I don't doubt that there are people that are far more sensitive to.
And that's the question. Is far more sensitive to blank.
So I'm also confident she could walk into a place and say this bullshit. But does that go any further? Because unless you found out, okay, this place is bullshit and this wasn't, you've just confirmed your guess without confirming that. I mean, that's just like, okay, I've practiced.
Well, I didn't get any real answers for any of these questions. Like, I didn't. Yeah, like, it's just kind of like you just do fucking spells. I've opened up spell books, and they're like, get a sheet of paper, fold it in 4, get some cayenne pepper.
Where do you buy these books from?
I was in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the time, and I went to the mall. And it was an interesting mall because they had fucking stores like that. It was like a funky. It was like a spiritual store. You could just get a bunch of beads.
Wait,
you could get
who's
stones.
Writing these books? How do you pick a good one?
That's what the fuck I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is real and what's not. Like, not what's real, but what is it? Like, how when you are into some shit like witchcraft, you're into magic. How do you decipher between good magic literature and bad magic literature? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
I want to ask her questions.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I just, that's what I do. Again, you're not going to catch me at the house performing a seance. Casting any spells. There will be no goats. There will be no chalk on the ground. There will be no torches. There will be none of this. But I'm still going to be interested. So no, I haven't had someone tell me, like, just go into detail about what they're interested in. I'm just like,
okay, so I forgot that was the question. And your answer to answer that, you picked like the most interesting thing.
But that's just how I feel about things in general. Could you throw out some hypothetical things to be interested in so I could even think about it? Like, what could someone say? They're like, I'm into gardening. I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Like, I'm already have questions popping up in my mind right now. If they're like, I'm a cobbler, like I make shoes. Already, like, I'm ready to go. I can just look around the room. It doesn't matter what you ask me about. We're going to end up getting technical because I'm not good enough. I'm not adept enough in any of those things to be able to ask you truly technical questions. But I do have a level of interest in your interest that will get you to that point. And that's where anyone's true love for something resides, is in the technicalities of it. So if you're asking someone like service questions, they'd be like, oh, I do this, I do that. You just try to get those fucking quick answers out of the way for them so they have a general idea of what it is you do. But if they really are interested and they keep asking you things about how you feel about it or what, like the technicalities of what you do, and you're like, are you really interested? Like, do you really want to know? You're like, yeah, could you tell me about it? Then off to the races. And you just...
Yeah, you got to get to that point.
Yeah, you got to get to that point of like, what?
Because that can take some people, especially if they're used to people not caring.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a lot of answers to your questions are not boring, but you haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. It just, things get really fun, in my experience, when you get good at them. So, conversation's fun for me. Like, there's just so many. Because
don't waste it.
I know. I'm not going to.
Actually, how long is it?
It's super. It's like the match is right up to my finger. I think I got this stuff. Watch this. Let's see how long I got. First of all, I gotta hold it up. People really, really love. I didn't grow up with pets, so I don't know what that's like. Oh, but
yeah. I mean,
people. Yeah, it's like. From what I understand, yeah, like the way that people talk about it, it seems like it's. Yeah, I mean, it's just your best friend. Like that's how people look. It's my best friend.
I mean, I
in
love
the world.
He is the best, and I mean, I love him more than I should maybe love a dog. But there's still a difference between a human and a dog.
People definitely make that substitution often.
That's very clear.
Whether it be like a baby they don't want to have, so they get a pet, or it's
I mean, and like he sleeps next to me with his little head on the pillow. Mm-hmm. We sit on the couch, but he's not. He's not a human. He's not a human. Yeah, and that's an important distinguishing factor. I do think it's interesting you've never had a pet. I think there's something. Maybe it's mostly specific to me, but there's something really important and helpful, useful about being responsible, having to take care of something.
Yeah, I believe that.
Not in a or emotionally.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, what are the qualities that it's helping? Like, what are the qualities that it's bolstering? What are you getting out of it? Like, what strengths are you acquiring from having to care for this being?
More recently, this is gonna sound absurd because it's a dog, but practicing loving something and not putting it first.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's tough when, I imagine that would be tough when the thing can't really have a good quality of life without you. You know what I mean? It's different like when your kids get older. It's like, oh, get the fuck out of the house, or you guys go find your own happiness now. I'm done. Right? But when they're a baby, I think that's why we feel the way we feel about them. Like, you can't do shit without me. Like, if you don't come first, you might die. And I can't afford for that to happen. So, like, I have to put you first for quite some time. And I'm certain there's a cutoff age that psychologists have come up with, where they're okay. Like, you don't have to put them first anymore. I don't know what age that is. But, yeah, some things, that's why certain responsibilities are just very interesting to me. Like my friend I told you that just fucking adopted a cat. He was just working on a lady's windshield and was like, I feel a connection with your cat. Can I have your cat? I'd like to adopt your cat. And she was like, I've been looking for someone to adopt a cat. But she was emotional about it because she didn't want to let the cat go. But she let the cat go. He didn't purchase it. He just adopted it. She just gave him the cat. I think he had to sign papers. I'm not quite. I forgot if that was a part of it or not. But he has a cat now. And then took it straight to the vet because it had a bunch of sores in his mouth, needed antibiotics and treatment and shit like that.
Has he had a cat before? Is this a whole new...
I don't think so.
Really? Because cat people are weird. But if you've got... Well, you know that...
I'm not sure of that, but I've never heard of any cat in the past.
So he's just going along living his life and then...
I'm just like, I gotta have this cat. That's the way I heard it. It was just like, he said, it's hard to explain unless you feel it. He was like, but I felt a connection with this cat, and was like, this cat, it seemed like he was like, what he said was, I don't feel as though I adopted the cat.
No.
I felt as though the cat adopted me.
Who rescued who?
That's what he said. He said he felt like he was chosen. So,
good for him.
So I was like, okay, well, Yeah, I thought that was very romantic. It's very romantic, but that's what he said.
You should get a bumper sticker.
It's saying...
You haven't seen it? Who Rescued Who?
Oh, right. Oh, that is cute.
Or some form of that.
Yeah, that is cute. So, yeah, some people we spend so much money. I forgot what the amount was because I actually read a National Geographic article about this. But it was like Americans spent, I believe it's in the billions. Alexa, how much do Americans spend on pets per year?
Market.com. Americans spend $41 billion a year on their pets.
Thank you, Alexa.
Okay, but
$41 billion.
To compare that to.
So what?
How about that number doesn't really mean anything to me because
it oughta though. Like I feel like even with and I completely understand what you're saying, but I feel like even without a reference point for pets seems crazy.
With no, that's like
42
5 bananas. What?
What would you like to compare it to? What could be comparable to purchasing, like to spend money on, like a pet?
Food. I'm not saying I'm hoping food is way higher.
Alexa, how much money do Americans spend on food per year?
From rallypoint.com, Americans spend $1 trillion on food each year.
I feel like that proves my point.
1 trillion. Hold on a second. But are those comparable? We're talking about food. We're talking about something that everyone has to spend money on. Because everyone has to spend money on food. Then we're talking about people. Of course,
and I knew it would be more. Of course, it's
much more.
Right, but it just scales the number.
Okay, all right. So
that's all.
Maybe it would. Okay, maybe just not on pets. Maybe we need to narrow it down to like certain pet things, like pet toys, like pet clothes. Because so you have people that spend money on the actual pet itself. Then after that, we're mostly talking about vet bills, right?
And
what do you think?
Food and vet. I mean, maybe you're lumping into medicine. If you have a dog, flea and tick and heartworm every month, that adds up.
Oh my gosh,
So yeah, it's a chunk.
So much money.
But
I also come from a place where I see dogs live a fantastic life. Like dogs are sipping sparkling water and, they all have like beautiful sweaters on and they're all so primped and pressed and permed and just beautiful.
You've seen Remy. He's pretty much the opposite of all.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Shaggy.
He's got a big old
definitely a little shaggy.
And there's fluffs coming
He's a rough looking guy. But yeah, people spend a lot of money on those types of things.
I read recently, I don't know how long ago it was, but there was a huge uptick in what people were spending on dogs in particular, because it wasn't all that long ago. I remember when I was young, we had dogs and they had, first you had those flea and tick collars and they kind of help. And then they had the first medicine was this like oily stuff you have to put in their back and it absorbs through their skin. But what was
the collar supposed to do? Like, what was the function of it?
It had some kind of repellent in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And none of those, I mean, they increasingly got better, but they weren't practical and they weren't super effective. And so at the point when now it's, I give Remy a heartworm pill every month, and every 3 months he gets a flea and tick. It's like a chewable thing, and they're incredibly effective. And that's the line of thought is a dog that doesn't have, there's like no risk of flea and ticks. It's now this, it's inside, it's on your bed, it's on your couch, and it turns this relationship with your pet into something different than it's this thing that lives outside and it's kind of dirty, but we like it. And then the money started pouring in. This
is a very weird segue. But you're talking about like making these changes that turn a relationship into like a completely different version, like of what it could be, right? Like again, they can stay outside type of deal to now they can be in here participating in bedtime,
and it's the exact same animal,
right? So I've questioned makeup before. Well, no, because you have this is a very weird segue. You have no idea where this is going. Okay. I've questioned makeup before, and one of the critiques that I have about it is there's a certain level of intimacy that you can't have with your significant other when a face full of makeup is involved. And if you're anything like me, if I'm really, really comfortable with someone, like my significant other and I, like we rub faces. You know what I mean? Just smush, just
half a face,
just makeup. Like just smush faces, and it's like little fucking lions rubbing like necks together. You know what I mean? Because like that's the only way they can really do it. You know, it's like that, but it feels
right because they don't have hands.
Yeah, but if you remove our hands though. There's something about a neck and head and face rub that feels good if you get to that level of intimacy. Now, you can't do that if you have makeup on. You could. Right. And I question those things, like just those it was kind of hard to talk about for some people, subjects that could unlock this whole level of intimacy and goodness that somebody wouldn't even think about. Like they wouldn't even think, oh, if I didn't wear makeup, now me and my significant other could smush faces and like that would somehow make us closer.
I need like a more emotional. If you were both wearing makeup. But now there's this weird, especially...
If you're both wearing makeup, you still can't... You still don't want to do that.
No, I'm not talking about the smooshing. Yeah, because neither of you want to mess up your makeup. Mm-hmm. No, I just mean there's something... if you wear a lot of makeup, you've got sort of something in front of you. I mean, literally you do, but more emotionally. There's this something in between you and everybody else. Mm.
Yeah, it's a whole fucking face.
And I mean particularly like face makeup.
Yeah.
Like I wear eye makeup sometimes. But when you like
do the whole thing.
And you can touch it and it's on your hand.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So there's something in between.
Well, some women would say that if you can just touch it and it's on your hand immediately, then you don't have a good concealer, I think it may be.
I'm not obviously.
I threw a word out there. I think it may be concealer, but yeah, just the thing that like stops it from being that way. Like there's something that kind of holds it in, and then you would have to really.
You can touch it and it doesn't come off.
Yeah, there's like good makeup these days. Like it's not like it was back in the day. Yeah, makeup today is different. It's very different. The artistry of it is very different. Like the level of competency, like everything is just like through the fucking roof these days. But the actual ingredients and the quality of it.
If it sticks that good, it can't really be good for your skin.
No, it's used. That's also what I hear as well, is that it's, well, you would assume that placing a layer over top of your pores that need to breathe, you know, like that would be a hindrance. I mean, it's a literal hindrance. Like that's what that is. But people like it.
So if you have this face full of makeup, not only is there's something between you and everybody else, and if you're with someone you're close with, there's that then between you and them. But even more so, just the difference of you're experiencing something, like you're in a different place. You're having a different experience. You're in like two different emotional places because you're over here with your face on. And you've got this level of separation from the world, and they're right next to you seeing the world without that face.
And
so that, like, that seems like also a huge hindrance to intimacy.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That is okay. I see what you're saying. It took me a second to get there. I would liken it to this. Tell me if I'm off. I feel the same way about couples where one of them is heavily into social media and the other one is like doesn't care for it like at all. I think that would be a very interesting relationship. I'd like to know how they communicate. I'd like to know how they communicate, because one is, like I'm saying, really, really love, like, is scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, like posting stuff constantly, like doing all that, and then you have someone like probably us that like really don't engage, like don't engage with that stuff. I feel like because there's usually a different sense of interesting values, and because I'd like to know, like, what are you looking for? What do you do that for? Again, my interest would be piqued, and I'd be like, what do you do that for? Like, what are you on there for? Like, what's your engagement like? I'd like to know now, since that's something you're interested in. I'd like to know how you engage with that thing. Like, what's that about? Because they're probably going to turn up some answers that are going to be like a little weird.
When I've inquired, especially those types of social media that I cannot wrap my head around, like the thing where you send just one picture.
You post. You said where you send one.
It's like it's not
Snapchat.
Instagram. Yes.
Well, it's moved. By the way, it's moved on. It has evolved heavily from that, but yeah. So I've genuinely asked people before when they're really into this certain types of social media, like Snapchat. I'm not. It's not from a judgmental place. I just pure I don't get it, and I can't think of any good. I've never once gotten an interesting or useful response, because it's generally, oh yeah, I know, I'm wasting my time, and it's not really that. Yeah, they're always mumbling through their answers.
Like so there's still no.
I think you're speaking to adults. I'm assuming that just still have a snap. Yeah, it's for kids. It's not for adults. Not really. Just like everything, it's for the kids. Like the kids.
Okay, but so another type of social media. No one has ever been able to say something at all meaningful about why they use it or why they're interested in it.
There are a lot of. It became like a social media thing where you can go to a separate page now, where you're not just going there to post, and you have a feed, and it'll show you people's. I don't know if they're sponsored through fucking Snapchat or something like that, but they'll just be like these sponsored accounts, and you can just go click on their stories and see like what they're up to. It's just another streaming platform. I mean, or another just feeding platform.
But why? So someone that spends a lot of time looking at that stuff, are they intentionally doing? Like, why? Or is it just because
it could be because they're bored out of their fucking mind, and then it's just like it's easy to do that. It's sort of like when I was talking to you about asking you when the last time you saw somebody zone out, and they just start looking in the corner or just looking in this space, and they just start to salivate, and you just tell they've unplugged, they've dropped out. It's a dial tone, and it's something about that dial tone that just relaxes them. It's truly like unplugging. But
it's bizarre when if you do it for half an hour a day, but if you're spending hours of your day on social media,
yeah, that's a good rest. That's that good unplug. Yeah, man. During when the quarantine happened, what do you think people were doing? people were drinking like crazy.
Well, right.
Because alcohol stores and wine stores were essential workers and remained open. Because if you took that away from Americans, we'd have burned this bitch to the ground. Week 2. Okay, so people were drinking. Drugs were in no shortage. And they were just fucking in the house, just
drinking
coming up with shit
is an activity that people have decided
we're drinking.
So why isn't social media?
No, it is.
But people, I don't think people think about it that way. They don't.
Like I'm about to scroll.
And so to spend hours a day on something that you can't even define as a thing, that you don't define as a thing.
Yeah. It's a very, very passive thing you're doing a lot of the time. Yeah, some people are just scrolling for like 7-10 hours a day.
God,
they're scrolling.
I drink too much.
Yeah.
Like the lead up to the slump.
Yeah, I got trapped in my mind. That's what happened to me during the pandemic. I fell into myself. Like I was reading wildly dense books. Like all of them, at the very least, they were between 300 and 1,000 pages. Right? They were very, very deep classical novels with very deep wisdoms and stories in them that I felt like I was absorbing. There were these informational, scientific books, psychological books. There was all sorts of shit I was reading. And I was just in the house fucking meditating and just thinking, ruminating on all these things.
So interesting to think about that and picture. So that's what you're doing. And meanwhile, I was like I was ignoring all of myself. Getting further and further away from everything that was good. And then, I don't know, what was that, 3 years ago? And now we're both here.
Yeah. It's craziness. Yeah.
Insanely different paths.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It happens that way, yeah. It's life. Life is weird. That's why we were just saying we can't tell people how to live life. Like, you can't just tell people what their path is supposed to look like. You just have no fucking idea. You don't know what age things are supposed to happen by.
Yeah, that comes up a lot when we give tours and at work, because people want to know how'd you get here, how'd you end up in. And sometimes it's purely just how'd you end up here, but lots of times it's how'd you end up here, how do I get here?
How do I get here?
And so I'm often having to tell the story, and it just is. I almost want to say, so that's my story. Now you know one way that is not an option for you, because that was mine. There's no, as if it's all the answers, and all I've done is really just eliminate one of the infinite number of ways. Yeah, but you can extract, some wisdom, something, because I think what was a good chapter, if you want to call it that, or a good blurb out of Austin Kleon's book. What was it called? How to steal like an artist. Intro paragraph was do the thing. So that's definitely something I believe in. I don't know how you become a rock star. I don't know how you become an archaeologist right now. Like I don't know how you do a lot of things. But I would have to think that you should definitely do it. I know that. Like, I definitely think you should be practicing the thing, like whatever it is, at whatever level you're able to engage with it, with whatever resources you have at that time. I think you should be doing that. I know that. I do know that. And I think that that's for everyone. I think that's one of those maxims that I can put over all human beings. I think you should do the thing. Don't just think about it. I think you should do it. Unless you're doing it is thinking about it. Like you're just a fucking philosopher and you just need to sit around and just fucking think about things. Then I guess that's your answer. Just focus around and think about it. But I do think you have to do the thing. Because I do like the saying that success is when preparation meets opportunity. Because if you're
opportunities come around,
preparation,
success is when preparation meets opportunity. Like if
that is clearly missing what you just said.
No, because
the doing it. Success comes from opportunity and preparation. No, you're missing the biggest.
Well, the preparation's the doing it. So if you're doing it, when the opportunity comes around, it will make sense that you will be able to reap what is now there. But if you didn't do shit, like
I have a problem with preparation.
Wanting that thing isn't enough to just bring it to you. Like you have to do something to get there. You have to prepare for when that opportunity arises. So,
no,
because
that's like saying that you're waiting for something. You should.
No, it's just that it's just that.
Doing it.
Well, I think that you are preparing for things, even if you know you are. Like you're doing what you do physically for your body because it makes you feel good on an everyday basis. But you are preparing for old age.
Do you think you can still call it preparation if you're not intentionally doing it in anticipation?
Oh, so instead, if someone said, man, it's a good thing you did that, you'd be like, yeah, you would say you did that. Not good thing you prepared for that.
Right.
Right. Did that. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
So if you say you're preparing, if you're combining preparation.
So instead you would like to strike the word preparation and say success is when doing.
Yeah. Because that's
doing
like a
meets
past,
opportunity.
present, future.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Okay. Success is when doing.
I mean, I'm sure it won't work for many people.
Yeah, because it doesn't ring. Yeah. It doesn't ring off quite the same.
It doesn't charm.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's hilarious. But yeah, so that's my advice: is do the thing. And on top of that, actually, if you really want to do it, why wouldn't you be doing it anyway? Like, because
right. Well, that's what
like, why wouldn't you? Like, you wouldn't do it for free. If you wouldn't do it for free, do you want to do it? Yeah, like, is that the thing you really want to do? Because the thing I would want to do, I would do for free. Like, I would do it regardless of the accolade, anything that comes with it.
Yeah,
because it's cool to do.
That's how you go through life, is figuring out how to make the things you do work. The things you want to do work, rather than doing.
So nice to live in this country.
Yeah.
It really is. And I know that some people, like, maybe that doesn't ring off well in this day and age. Like, people are just like, what? But being able to say what you just said, because some people don't even have the access to say what you said. Because they're just like, I haven't experienced that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, when you say it's so nice to live in this country, I completely agree. And I'm thinking in a bigger...
I'm constantly breaking matches. What you're thinking on a bigger? Explain to me.
Like, if I say, I would be very careful who I said that around. It's so nice to live in this country, because the assumption is like, so are you?
No. It's so funny because you're totally right. Like,
especially in the world that I live in, if I said that, someone would assume I was conservative, and that I was.
That's a fact.
Pro.
People probably think that about me.
That drives me nuts. It has a pro in front of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah,
anti-abortion.
You would be.
But that, like, if you said it's great to live in this country.
You'd be grouped in. You'd be lumped in with a bunch of people. So the fuck what? That's for people that don't know how to compartmentalize ideas and give human beings credit. For being human beings, which are evolving, ever-changing creatures. Like, so that's stupid. But there's so many things that we do and say, and they're so apparent to me And I have this comedic filter to which I see a lot of life. I love laughing. I find so many things so funny about this world. Like mostly everything is funny on some level. And when you have conversations with people, some of the things that we choose to do with our time is so fucking funny because the privilege just bellows out like that smoke just did. Like it just billows out like a fucking atomic bomb cloud. When you're talking to me about, I was experimenting with seeing how lazily I can pick up a cup, just seeing just how lax and whimsical my fingers can be as I pick up this cup. Like just to think about doing that. There's such a level of privilege that we just sit around. I think that's a lot of the reason why so many people are upset with life too. And they find so many problems is because they're bored as fuck. So you like find problems. Like you find things to complain about. Because you're not engaged enough with cool shit. But that doesn't mean that you trying to pick up the thing is not cool shit at all. It just means that there's this experiment.
See, that wasn't from
in certain people's minds, they're just like, I would never be thinking about that. Like certain people exactly, it's not from a place of boredom, but there are people in the world who be like, I can't afford to think about things like that. Like I just can't afford to be thinking about, can I pick up my glass this way? Like I have to go and get some food for all of these 7 children. Like it's you know what I mean? It's just so crazy. And we floated yesterday. It was so beautiful.
So we have your.
Hey y'all, I need everybody that listens to this needs to do a float tank. I've talked about it before, but we're not this. You just gotta go. Just check it out. What were you saying? You just have to do it.
Any certain company you're working for?
I'm just for the people. I'm not doing that. It's just for the people. Just check it out.
So we have this incredible luxury, and you're really sensitive to it and aware of it. Can you imagine throwing that away? You have that gift
of awareness, or the gift of
being able to think about anything you want. Being able to, so you have that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Recognize some people live a life where they don't get that. So we have this thing.
Well, that's why
most people are like, I'm bored.
Well, with that also comes that attitude. Like that's kind of what comes out of it. Like you're very well privileged, and that privilege is a double-edged sword because it allows dedicated people to excel and create amazing things. And those amazing things could just be discussions because we have the time to sit around and fucking think and float in a float tank for an hour and let our minds be stimulated while our bodies relaxed. And we're just doing wild shit. We're going in float tanks. We're hitting the sauna. We're climbing walls, reading books, sitting around meditating, doing yoga. Like being able to get all the foods that we want to eat that nourish us and all the vitamins and all this. Like it's just wildly fortunate. Wildly fortunate. And sometimes we just sit around and just
complain
about shit. You know what I mean? And that's just what we do. And that's the double-edged sword. Like, you know, because people look at us as leaders because we have the resources and we're able to have the discussions. And, you know, like people that can even listen to podcasts are fortunate people. Like you have the time to just sit and just listen to people talk. It's wildly like, the fact that you don't have to spend all that time working to the bone to make things happen in life, you're living a good life. You know, from that aspect, at least, you know, I don't know about the particulars of anyone's lives, but because it can get dark too. But yeah, it's crazy. We're just sitting here just fucking recording. It's just weird. It's a very weird life because it's so good. You know, it really is. And you can't really appreciate it, or else you would just never stop crying. But when you just try to think about it for a second, it's just like, yeah, it's a little crazy. Like, it's a little crazy how good it is. Like, we get tripped over minor inconveniences. Truly, like, they're inconveniences. They're usually not that bad. I call it the lint in the eyelash.
The other day, I was at my parents' house and I was getting ready to leave. Car's all packed up. And I tried to start the car. I didn't start. Battery was dead. And not just dead, but done. Right. Like leaking and done.
Did you deal with issues like having it turn on prior to that happening? There had to have been some times where
it was
no. Okay, yeah, we got it today. Like, and you felt good about it.
No, it was really only towards the very end where it was like that took 2 seconds longer than it should have to turn over. It would
Okay.
So it was subtle.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You were asking me about my car issues. I'm just asking you about yours. How long did it take for you to actually do something?
Till I couldn't drive the car.
When you couldn't drive, that's most of us.
Anyway, so need a new car battery, and I called up my dad, asking. He was out. He was at work. It was the middle of work day. He was at work. Called him up, asked him for help. And in a minute, he's saying, "Oh, you need a new car battery. I'll stop at so-and-so on the way from the office, and I'll see you in an hour." Mm-hmm. And for a second, I thought, I gotta go grocery shopping. I was gonna go to the gym. Like, this, God damn. Like, all right, I'm gonna get home hours later than I expected. And then think, I can go sit by the pool while I wait for my father, a grown adult. My father's going to buy me a car battery, drive home, end his day early, put it in my car, and wish me on my way.
It's craziness.
And so we go out, he replaces it. I go out there and start it, and everything's good, and we're like, get out of the car. And seriously, he's telling me how the radio resets when you take out the battery, which means your presets go away. He was like, your presets are going to be all messed up now.
There's this wonderful back and forth thing happening.
And I said, seriously, I'm never taking my car here again to get fixed for free. And then I think he realized, like, he's just...
Right. But you were doing this, like, you were a bit ungrateful at first, right? Then you understood the reality of the situation. And he also felt bad having that your presets are now dismantled, knowing that he did a great justice, or maybe not even knowing that, you know what I mean? But so it's funny because both of you all had like this skewed version for a second there. And it took both of you to help each other get back on track with comedy too.
And just because there's so much good.
Yeah, it's just like, dude,
neither of you can stay there for too long. No, it's absurd.
Yeah, it is, and that's my general thought about unpleasant things. Is it happens? How long do we want to stay in this space for? That's my general thing. Like, if we are in an unpleasant space, just think, how long do I want to stay in this space for? Like, do I like?
Or how long do you want to
being angry
from being in the other space?
Yeah.
How long do you want to be away?
Like, I need to make some real decisions. I need to make some real choices. Like, how can I get out of this? That's why I don't find myself. I get out of those situations. It's just they don't matter to the point of remaining there. Like, they matter to the point of being alerted to whatever is displeasing to you in the moment. Like, to alert you to that. but it's just not worth remaining in that space. All I needed was the notification. I don't need. It was funny. My friend Mikey was telling me that because he was helping me move in to my new place, and I fucking smacked. We had moved a mattress from the U-Haul, and I had the headboard, which was a big ass headboard, laying behind it, and then it came down and smacked my ankle and just tore skin right off. Right, you could see bone, blood start coming out immediately. I was like, oh God. And like, he looked at it, he was like, damn, like, yeah, it got you. And it immediately swelled up. It looked like a half of this, passion fruit, actually. This was like my ankle on like my left side, like just poking out. And I just kept lifting shit because I was like, I'm not gonna stop moving. Like, I'm moving this stuff in the house. Like, I'm not gonna stop this. I cleaned it up and all that sort of stuff. But he was like, pain is so stupid, man. He was like, I hate that shit because it's just a signal to your brain letting you know, hey, there's something wrong. Like, this needs to be addressed. Like, that's what that is. He was like, but I have the signal. Like, I know I'm taking care of it. Why does it need to persist? Like, why does the signal need to consist at that level? I mean, people have different pain tolerances, right? So some people can feel way less pain when something happens to them. So there's a spectrum there. So it's like when some people hurt, I'm assuming they'd be like, man, why the fuck do I hurt so much? Like, why does it seem like when this person gets punched in the arm, like it hurts, but it's just not nearly like this bruise it's terrible. It's so bad. Like,
but would you really want to lose
the sensation of
the signal? I don't want just one message.
You want a continuous message until, I guess, it's completely healed.
Yeah, because you're kind of like opting out of part of the experience.
Okay. I can get with that.
Listen, because something's going on you.
So yeah,
if you got the signal the whole time, so you're you how you normally are plus the signal. Well, if you just get the message and the signal stops, you're you minus the signal.
So yesterday when we went to the float tank place, and he said, now if you have any cuts, scrapes, abrasions. You will feel it when you jump into this water with 1,000 pounds of salt in it. And I was heeding his warning because when we went rock climbing, I did smack the wall, and I got some abrasions. I let go and I swung and smacked the wall, and then I came down. So there was something on like my elbow, hand, and like knee. And they're very, very light though. So I had to put that, whatever, what do you have? Some fucking, Vaseline. Some Vaseline? Yeah. So I put some Vaseline on those areas and I clearly rinsed off beforehand.
You didn't even test it?
Nah. I knew. I was like, because I rinsed off and I felt it already with just water, like just regular water. So I was like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. But I put the Vaseline on there and I got in there, and it's still, you still feel it. It's still fucking salt in your, it's still 1,000 pounds of salt in your wounds for sure. But again, they weren't deep enough to like really be like, oh, this isn't, I gotta get out of here now. Like I was still able to, that was crazy about it. I was still able to relax and just get into that zone.
That's part of that experience. That's
right.
Part of that.
Yeah.
The first time I did a float session, I got there and it wasn't in the video, she just told me, but she explained the whole cut scrapes.
Yeah.
And so I go back and I'm getting ready and I thought, nah. And I get in and my shins are on fire. And then all came rushing back to me. That day, I worked with my supervisor and we did the graffiti removal of that sculpture I told you about. And there are purposely planted really thorny bushes at the base of that sculpture so people, it works as like physical barrier because they scratch up your legs. Well, we were all in them.
Damn.
When we were doing the
I remember it from the picture that you sent.
Yeah. And they were very, very shallow, but tons covering our lower legs of tiny
like lacerations.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was really apparent when I got in that tank.
How long did it take for you to sort of relax?
Well, that was the first time when it took me a long time.
Like half the time? More than half the time? Did you ever get to actually relax that time?
Yes. So the first time was, I thought, okay, I went into it feeling a little nervous that I wouldn't be able to handle the tight space. But I also went into it with the stubbornness of, I'm going to do it for real.
Like, I'm not going to have it ajar.
We're gonna shut it.
Yeah.
And this little neck pillows, I'm going to do it for real.
No music, no lights. No.
I really and
full deprivation.
And I don't, it's hard to say because it was really trying to muscle through. So maybe it was only 10 minutes and it felt like 40, or maybe it felt like a long time. I don't know, 20 minutes worth of powering through. And then I thought, stop. I opened the tank. I sat up. I thought, great. So I've proved I can survive. Now,
yeah.
The reason I came here was not to survive. It was to get something out of it. And so then adapted the environment to a way that was comfortable. And the rest of it, it felt like it was over. Did
you feel like you had more breathability when the thing was open?
Yeah, because
you could sense a new airflow. Yeah.
And that's because
like
that's what was
air.
Really getting to me, making me feel claustrophobic, that it was
the same air.
Even
well, they say there's airflow,
yes,
but
and of course
I'm certain
it's not a tight seal.
Right.
But
yes, though, it's more so that just the aesthetic is
yeah. yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
and
for
so,
sure.
So the pain on my legs,
they're so cool. The fucking mechanics of them.
It's like a spaceship.
It's so cool in there. I love it. Like when I walk into those rooms and I look at the fucking thing, it's one of those moments where I understand my level of privilege. Because I'm looking at this fucking thing that looks like a spaceship that I'm about to get in that has this crystal blue light in it and like music playing. Like, oh. And I'm about to hop in this thing and float and go into full sensory deprivation and go inside of my mind and relax my body in this very, very unique way that you can only really achieve in zero gravity. It's very privileged. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Like it's so weird. It's such a weird life. Like it's so weird, man. But all of it feels so good. It's so great. I just don't know. I don't want to be, I want more of this in my life. So that's why I'm interested in like I didn't even never finish the Reiki story. So the Reiki. So that's why I'm interested in all these wellness things. So this person's like, as we're sharing this language game, right? And like I'm sharing some words and she's sharing some words. She's starting to get comfortable and I guess she gets the idea that I'm an open-minded person. So then she's like, oh, I don't really usually talk about this with everyone, but who
is this person?
She's an employee at my job. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, she works in the she works in the spa.
Introducing this to you,
and she's like, I actually talked to you about her last night. She has a name from a person from a movie. So she comes up to me and she's
see, if you said it more often, you would have just said it right then.
I'm cognizant. So then
I'm so tempted. I actually almost said it.
Oh my goodness!
To finish your thought, and you thought, no.
Oh man! So she comes and she's like, "Yeah, I'm a Reiki master. Like I channel energy from the universe and I heal people." And that was the explanation, like of what a Reiki master is. Like summing it up. And I was like, okay. And she was like, like, would you like to see Reiki? And I was like,
see it?
Well, I think that was just the vernacular she was using, but I think what she meant was like, would you like to witness? Would you like to witness? Would you like to experience Reiki? And I was like, yep, yes, I do. Sign me up. And she was like, okay. And she pulled her hand out of her pocket and put her hand on my elbow. And she sat there for a little while, and I just continued to have conversation with her.
Was she actually touching you?
Yeah, she was touching. Yeah, she had her hand on my elbow. And I will say her hands were quite warm.
Well.
They were in her pocket. Her hands were in her pocket. But either way, she had very, very warm hands. And you could say that the heat radiated from her hand onto my elbow. And I mean, it felt comforting.
Was she?
Because it's just like putting like a small heat pad on. Like, it feels good. Like,
how did she pick your elbow? That was just her choice.
Yeah, she just put her. Absolutely not
bothering you.
She took her hand out of her pocket and put this shit right on my right elbow. Because it was just however I was sitting, it was available. You know, like my right elbow was available.
It wasn't a really specific choice. I'm just picturing she walked up.
We're like sitting. We're like a foot away from each other having a conversation. I'm sitting down.
So it's just a convenient spot.
It's just. I think it was a convenient spot, and she just chose elbow. And my elbow was sticking out. Probably like 30 seconds. Like we were sitting there having a conversation, and she just sat there for like 30 seconds with her hand on her elbow, and then she took it off, and she was like, "That's Reiki."
Did she turn around and walk out?
Pretty much. Like that was gearing up to be about the end of the conversation. We probably shared a few more things, and then she left. But she was like, "You felt the warmth." I was like, "I most certainly felt that warmth."
So that's it.
And she was like, "That's Reiki."
She asked if you felt warmth.
Because I don't know if there was something else that was passing through. And what I was able to pick up from it was warmth. That was the way that I detected it. But it was maybe it's some good fucking energy.
So if you pay somebody, do you like sit or lay somewhere they do that for an hour?
Yeah, I think, they probably go around at different spots and, get your chakras aligned, move their hands around on your back. And I'm certain there are all these different points and stuff. It's sort of like, it may not be as detailed. Well, I'm certain it's not as detailed as acupuncture and all the different fucking acupuncture points. But I'm certain they have their own version of that, like reflexology massages, like a masseuse. Like I'm certain they have like some little pictures, and they're like, if you put your hand up here, yeah, exactly. Like you put your hand over here, like on their right shoulder blade, and then your hand on their lower left hamstring and push down. It's going to align these chakras and allow for
sure.
You know what I mean? It's going to allow for the flow because you're a little stopped up. Your chakras are a little stopped up. You have and you have I don't fucking know. I'm just saying stuff, but like it sounds like someone might say some shit like that.
Yeah, sure
like
does.
they're not aligned, they're a little stopped up, so they're not really connecting the way that they ought to. Just like everything else, just like your spine, your muscles, your joints, your chakras aren't aligned. Let me heal you. So yeah, I love to ask those questions. I have no idea. But there's so many things in wellness. You can't. It's great incorporating new ones. It's so much fun. Like, go ahead. Could you just go ahead?
Well, it was unrelated to what you were saying. It just occurred to me. I just eat those, and then no, you can have it. But then without realizing it, watched you pick this teeny tiny little dot off as if somehow that's not edible, but the rest is. Mm-hmm. And watching you do that made me realize that I just did that with the last one that I ate.
Did you? Because
I guess I watched you do it, and without even thinking about it, thought I needed to do it.
Well, it's really just about the amount of investment. Like, if I'm having trouble taking it off, like, then I'm not going to continue to try to take it off. This thing is the size of a marble. So you're right. It doesn't really matter.
And when I look back to the one that I took off, there was no difference in the experience.
And on top of that, I eat many things that people like wouldn't. Like I eat kiwi, like the whole kiwi. Like I eat the skin.
It's actually bad for your throat.
Is it?
Well,
It's bad for your throat.
No. It was a long time ago, and who knows I don't know how well researched it was, but that it creates little tiny micro tears in your throat.
Really? Possibly. I wouldn't know. I eat lemon peels. And when I'm done with the lemon, I'll eat a whole lemon. So I use lemon for water, and then when I'm done, like I'll eat the entire lemon. A lot of people are not into that shit.
Grind them up and put them in my juice.
Yeah, you do. You make a strong drink. They're good, but it tastes healthy.
Well, yeah, that's why you only get like that much a day.
I came from the era of if it stings a little bit, it's working.
Yeah.
Wait, have you never heard that?
No,
can you at least picture it? Yeah, like
no, I have never heard someone say it that way. But yeah, it makes. My mom used to use. What is it? The bubbles up on your cut, hydrogen peroxide, and pour it on there, and it would feel like your skin's peeling off. And she would say, "That's how you know it's working."
Yep, that's what my grandma used to say. And sometimes it was the alcohol, just the straight alcohol.
Yeah, it doesn't need that.
Are you just doing it just letting your body just fight it off itself? Are you doing that move?
I mean, rinse it.
Oh, keep it clean.
I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily have to hurt.
Oh no, they were gonna
work.
No, they were gonna do the whole thing. They were gonna go through the wiping it with an alcohol pad or like a cotton ball with alcohol. Neosporin, which Neosporin's fine because that's just like a coolant. Yeah, I had to be patched up. I lived a great life as a kid. You gotta get fucking patched up.
But there is that if it's painful, it's working. If something smells really strong, it's gonna kill all the germs. Yeah,
that's very true. Yeah, pungent smell. Yeah, there's something to all that. Even just your exercise.
Yeah,
like there's something to it. Like if it's difficult. Like, so I feel like something's happening. Like if you just pour some shit on your hand, it just rolls past the cut. You're completely unbothered. I just don't think it's not going to help it heal, man. That's not going to do it.
Which is sort of like the not checking out, you just wanting an initial alert and then not feeling the signal of pain.
Right. Yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
Like leaning into that.
Yeah, that's very true. Because some people go as far as to like create pain in their life to live. Like, yeah, like they create pain because it's like I need to feel something and I don't usually feel if it's not linked to pain. That's a real thing. You know? When you gotta do this. Yeah. It's wild. I used to have a friend, and some point in time he was asked about him and his girlfriend's relationship because it was wildly toxic and they fight and shit all the time. And I believe his answer was something to the effect of, y'all don't understand, like, we like to hurt. Like, that's what we like. Like, we like to hurt. It was like, God. Yeah, like, that's what we're into. Saying very, very mean things to each other. Putting shit out on social media about each other.
What else like talking are you not shit. Feeling to need to lean into that one feeling so hard. You know, there must be so many other sensations missing if you need to amplify that sensation. Talking
shit about your significant other while like on social media while you're in the living room and they're in the kitchen is wild. That's fucking crazy. And they follow you on social media and they're in the kitchen. And then they look at their feed and they see you talking shit about them on social media. You're like, what the? And you're cooking a meal in there. You're supposed to go to bed with that person that night. It's very, very weird. That's crazy. People do that shit. It's very, very crazy. I know. I've known people to do that. I've known people to do that.
It's one thing to get there accidentally and think, "Wow, this is how I'm." But to choose to live in that space,
yeah, like you. Oh, right. Like to the point where when someone asks you about it, you're like, "Yeah, I know."
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's kind of just naturally playing out. But like, yeah, I know I've made this. I do. It's intentional.
I find it so funny that when you're asking, like, what's the point of this? And you're like, I don't have anything to say to the world. Like, I don't have anything to say to people. Like, there was a point where you asked me, like, what do you think that you have to offer people? And I think my answer was something like my perspective. You know, my perspective was maybe creatively trying to lean into other perspectives. That's what I have. I think it's roughly the same for everybody. Like, only you can bring what you can bring to the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're that unique. So what you have for the world is whatever the fuck you are. You can't do more than that. Like, that doesn't exist. You do what you can do. Like, so that's it's only something you can do. That's what you have. It's nothing wild. You don't need to be a wild specialist at anything or have wisdom that you feel like you want to impart on the world intentionally. It's just you just have you.
Yeah, I just have no natural instinct to share it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's the sharing part. Yeah, for sure.
Like, why do people... No one asked for my perspective.
I know, right? No one.
I think it's valuable. It matters to me, but
yeah, no one asked for mine either, and I felt like I needed to put it out there. I was like, "What the fuck is that about? Like, what the gumption of this guy? Like, why are you posting this? Like, who the fuck cares?" And then you find out some people care, and it gets interesting. So it's like the why start doing it is a good question, like the why to start posting it. But if you make a dumb decision and you start posting it, then it becomes a good decision afterwards. Yeah, because then it's like, oh, this is a good reason to post it. Like, this is fun. You know, developing a community of people that like to listen to stuff and to some degree follow a storyline. You know, they see all these different people come and talk and tell all these different stories and focus on just kind of where they're at in life and what the fuck is going on in their head. And so many people are they're sitting around waiting for stuff to think about, stuff to hear, you know. They are. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a market for everything. Everyone's interested in something, you know. And some people just like to hear other people talk about what the fuck is going on in their life. A lot of people feel alone, and following through a story and hearing people have a good time, I think just makes people happy. Just hearing people have a genuine good time with each other and just talking about things. It is. Yeah, it is. Sad thought. Yeah, but I think people really, really enjoy it. And it doesn't have to be. Like, you can be happy and still enjoy just looking at people having a great fucking time.
But to feel lonely.
But to come from the place of, feeling like quite lonely and resorting to that. Yeah, but, you know, different strokes for different folks. Everybody's out there trying to get it somehow, you know. So yeah. So thank you for doing this, because you did have something to offer, which is you. And I appreciate, and also this is the very first time that I've ever taken my equipment somewhere else and set up. I'm honored. You know, no. That's not where I was trying to take that. That's not where I was trying to go. I was just saying, it's just at first is all. There have been many firsts. White asparagus ice cream with oat crumbles and candied rhubarb, passion fruit, kumquats, I'm gonna just throw wall climbing on there, rock climbing on there, even though I've done it before. But this seemed like the first time, kind of. And bringing the podcast equipment somewhere else. I'm certain there have been some other things too.
The salad turnip.
The salad turnip. The turnip salad. Why do you keep saying salad turnip? Turnip salad?
No, because it's a particular type of a turnip that is you can eat raw on a salad. It's more mild. It's sweeter.
Yes.
Meaning it's just turnip but less.
Yes, yeah, turnip but less, like white asparagus, right. Asparagus but less.
So I don't like its official name isn't a salad turnip, but that's how like at the farmer's market. Here's a salad turnip, meaning put it on your. So the thing itself.
Okay.
So I'm not getting it backwards when I'm trying to say a turnip salad.
No, I see what you're saying. This is itself. I understand what you're saying. All this right. is very, very privileged talk. This has been episode 167, I think. Which is really, really cool. I haven't been coming out with them as frequently, but when I do them, I'm really, really excited about doing them. So this has been really cool. So I'm glad that we did this. We have been speaking now for like almost 3 hours.
Who's going to want to listen to that?
I know, right? That's what everyone says. That's what everyone thinks. Like, who in the world would want to listen back to that? Weird world we live in. That's been the whole gist of this entire conversation. And every conversation that ever really happens, the gist of it is, yes, well, fucking world is weird. Really. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.